This story takes place back when I was still in high school. It's a warm Saturday afternoon in the summer holidays, and I'm driving back home with hands down the strongest acid tabs that I've ever laid my eyes on. As I'm driving, I start messaging my boys Crocker and Josh, organising for them to come around later that night, drop a couple tabs each and just hang out. And it's in this very moment that my mate Josh actually asks me if I'm going to be partaking with both him and Crocker. And I say to him, man, it's been a while since I've done this last, because I had done it in the past, but never had I ever done anything this strong. So I just tell him we'll see. I get a bit closer to home and I decide it's probably a good time to call mum, see if the boys are actually allowed to come over on this night anyhow. Right, so she says yes, it's all good, they're allowed to come over. And I get home around half an hour later. I unpack my shit, I was actually coming back from a different city, so I sort myself out, and the boys arrive around half an hour later. We walk back to my room, I jump back on the Xbox, and it's at this point that both of the boys ask me if they can actually see the tabs, right? Because they had never seen the amount that I had in their lives. Neither had I at this point. Right, so I walk over to the cupboard, I grab my tweezers, I peel the foil back on this, sheet, and I hold it up to the light. And they're just looking at it in awe. It's like this fucking trippy looking Homer Simpson melting type thing. And it's in this very moment that Josh actually asks me if it's all right for him to have his first one now. Because the plan was we were both going to do two later on, like go and watch the sunset and drop two at the same time. But he wanted to do his first one now. So I think to myself, it's probably all right. Josh is already a bit of a fried cunt as it is, so what's one tab going to do to him? Little did I know it, shortly after I would eat my words, but obviously I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so I pull one off of the sheet and we wait. It gets to about 8:15 and Crocker and I decide we're going to do both of ours now. Right, walk over to the cupboard again, rip 4 of them off, and we have them, okay? Obviously Josh now wanting to have his second one, I rip it off, give it to him. Cool. Now let me just tell you for reference, for those who haven't seen my past videos, Josh was a super loose. He could charge up on anything and act like his completely normal self. So I didn't have any worries this night. But let me just tell you now, we were in for a fucking doozy. Right, so all 3 of us boys put our shoes on and we leave out the garage door of my house. We start walking down the driveway and literally before these things are even fucking dissolved, I start to feel the effects come on. Okay, it wasn't anything crazy, but I start to feel super alert. Time feels like it's moving much slower and there's this sense of peacefulness in the air. We start walking down the road and without even realizing it, this shit was going to hit us much quicker than we would have ever imagined because our hearts are pumping the blood around our body, right? So what would have taken maybe 30 to 40 minutes is now going to take 10 to 20. Yo, brother, if you're enjoying this video, please do me a favor and hit that sub button. You have no idea how much it helps me out. But with that said, I'll let you get back to the video, son. We start walking up the road and it's pretty normal, we're talking to each other about our future plans, what jobs we want to get. We wanted to start businesses at the time. We all were fairly ambitious but lazy. But I would say around 10 minutes into walking, we get around half a kilometre away from my house. We decide to stop at this street sign, okay? The sun had sort of set by this point. It was still slightly light out. But anyhow, we're stood at this street sign and it's in this very moment. Fucking buzz! This hits me like a truck. Okay, I'm not seeing anything yet, but I'm just stood there feeling very alert. It's very peaceful, but there's also this sense of uncertainty. That's the only way I can really describe it. Even now, I don't understand it, but there's this feeling of uncertainty within, right? So I'm talking to the boys, what are we going to do when we get home? This is going to be a mad night, just spinning yarns. And we walk a little further up the road to where we come to a stop at this dead creature. We're not exactly sure what it is. So I get my flashlight out, keeping in mind it's just about dark at this point. And we see that it's a big ass lizard about this big, right? I don't even know what you call them, Komodo dragon, something like that. And the head of it's been squashed, right, poor little thing had been squashed by a car. So we're looking at it, and as I'm looking at it, the scales start to move. Okay, and I say to the boys, whoa, what the fuck is that? Is that a snake or a lizard, right? I literally got a video of this. They go, that's a lizard. And I'm like, brothers, that thing looks fully fucking hectic. And I'm looking at it like this, right? I'm just spinning out. This thing's fucking got moving scales. But I'd sort of experienced these visual effects in the past, so I didn't really think too much of it. But we decide at this point it's probably a good time to start walking home. It's fairly dark and we don't want to be, tripping balls in the dark. So we start walking up the road back towards my house. We walk up the driveway, get my brother to let us back in the garage door. We walk into my room, and this may sound whack, but immediately the energy shifts, right? I feel like everything's moving around me, vibrating. I walk over to the blind to close it, and as I'm closing like the curtains that are in front of my blind, right? I got the blind and then I got the curtains in front of it. I'm looking at the curtains and they're like almost breathing, they're wobbling about, like one of those fucking Van Gogh paintings, how they're like all wobbly and shit? That's what it looks like in real life. So I'm moving it and it's like my hand's got a trail behind it. Anyhow, I close it and I walk over to my Xbox, right? I turn it on, we get the game going, I get one of the boys playing it, and I turn on my LEDs. Now it's in this very moment that I look over at Josh's head, and for every time the LEDs change colour, his head changes shape. Like I said, I'm going to sound like a complete cooked but just bear with me on this story, okay? By no means am I glorifying any of this, by the way. I'll say to Josh, wow, this is some pretty hectic shit, and then turn to Crocker and ask him if I can have the controller to play the game. Hands me the controller, the boys are watching me play it, and as I'm, driving around in this game, there's fucking trails coming off the back of the car, which wasn't anything out of the ordinary, right? That was literally a part of the game. But they looked a lot more vibrant than usual, and the trails had trails, if that makes sense. Like I could do this with my hand and it would follow behind. Okay, so it was almost like a delayed vision type of thing. And I say to the boys, what the fuck? I'm not going to be able to beat this level. So we turn off the game, none of us were really able to play a video game. We just wanted to lax up, talk shit, and just have a good night. So we end up getting up Netflix and we turn on that movie Tag, right? None of us are really engaged in it. We're all sort of just sitting there talking shit, pissing our pants. This is where we go through what's called the giggle stage, right? There's different stages to this. We're just pissing our pants at the dumbest shit. You could have said some fucking little 2-year-old poo joke and we would have pissed our pants laughing, no doubt. I remember one of the highlights of this night was Josh and I just absolutely fucking rinsing Crocker for something he had said the week prior. A simple error in speech. We were calling him a dumb just making fun of him, just not letting him live this down, right? But it gets to around 2 a.m. By this point, it's been 6-ish hours since we had actually eaten the tabs. And you would think that we would be coming down, like it's the typical thing. When I'd done it in the past, this would be around the time everything would start tapering off, but no. It had gotten to its absolute peak. I'm sitting there on my bed talking shit to the boys. We're still pissing our pants at the dumbest shit. And I look at Josh's head, right? He's just sitting there staring straight into my soul. We make eye contact with each other and we just start giggling, right? We're not saying anything. We're just giggling whilst we're staring at each other like I'm doing with you now. Now, as we're doing this, the LEDs are still changing color, right? Because I've got them on like that party mode. I'm looking at his face, and this time, instead of changing shape or color, it's changing into, I don't even fucking know what. I looked at his head, and every time the LEDs would turn green and blue, I shit you not, he would turn into a fucking avatar. And some of you may not even believe that statement. Fuck, bro, I wouldn't have even believed it before I had this experience. But this is hands down 100% true. And I could not fucking believe it, bro. I say to him, holy fuck, Josh, this is some strong shit. You just turned into an avatar, bro. And as soon as I say this, Josh and Crocker start pissing their pants. They're like, what are you talking about? Like, they're just straight pissing their pants, laughing at me, like taking the piss out of me. And of course I knew it wasn't real. I said, like, I know what I'm seeing is not real, but I'm just being honest, bro. You turn into a fucking avatar. Now, given that it's super late by this point, we're all looking to go to sleep fairly soon, but this just doesn't seem to be tapering off. The boys asked me if they can go outside and smoke some balls, right? I just recently quit, so I wasn't going to be smoking weed with them, but I did have a bit of a mix left in my cupboard. So I grabbed the mix and walk them outside. Now, what we were thinking here was it was going to sort of mellow them out, make them feel more calm. But let me just tell you, that's not what happened. We go out the laundry door and I pack them up a couple, you know. As we're standing there talking, you know, they're trying to smack their billies. I just start cracking the stupidest fucking jokes to get them to laugh and, you know, like blow out the cone so all of the stuff would just be wasted. I don't know what my logic was there, but I thought it was funny as fuck. We come inside shortly after, and this just made the boys 10 times more hyper. Now they didn't want to go to sleep. They just wanted to stay up, scroll TikTok and talk shit. But I'm laying there on the bed, feeling like I'm being swallowed by a fucking soft cloud or some shit. I feel like everything around me is breathing, all right? My breath has a breath. This is some cooked shit, bro. And it's in this moment that I turn to Crocker, who's just laying there on his phone, watching the exact same TikTok over and over and over again. Now, I can resonate on this, bro, because in the past when I had done this, I would fixate on random shit. I don't know, it's like a thing you do. You just watch the same over and over again. It could be the most boring thing, but for some reason your mind sort of locks onto that thing based on when you see it, right? This is straight out like a Black Mirror episode. I can't even describe the shit that went on this night. Everything was just fucking cooked. That's the only way to describe it. Cooked. But anyhow, it gets to 4 a.m. and we finally decide we're going to go to sleep. And all I can say is I'm very lucky to have had such good mates to have had this experience with, because I do personally know people who have had very bad trips in the past, and I know even a few people who have killed themselves. I don't know them personally, but I know that has happened. I can only imagine what this experience would have done to someone who had bad mental health, right? It really put into perspective for me that you don't really know what's going to happen until you've actually done it. It really opened my eyes to the whole experience. And bro, I think it goes without saying, I have not touched acid ever since that night. It was fucking wild. I'm not saying it was super fucked up or traumatizing for me, but of course I'm still going to advise you against it. It's definitely not worth it. It's not something that is going to benefit your life in any way. And I personally believe a lot of my teen years and time was wasted putting towards drug use in general. You know, you've heard it 1,000 times. I don't want to repeat myself like I do in every video. But honestly, bro, I'll just stay away from it all, you know. Live out your teen years like a fucking kid, because that's literally what you are. 15, 16, that's the time you start locking in, you know. You get a job, you start grinding on business, you start working towards something, trying to find your purpose and figure out what you're really meant for in life, all right? So, in short, just stay away from it all. I'm not going to act like there's some super deep message here and drag it. I hope you enjoyed. Hit the sub button if you did. I'll see you in the next one. Stay grinding, my G. What's good, my G? That story that you just heard and watched in its entirety was all thanks to my professional level storytelling skills, which I've built up over the past year and a half. And I'm currently helping over 40 young, ambitious motherfuckers do the exact same with the Born to Be Great program. I have a full course laid out for you on how you're going to grow your channel from 0 to 10,000 subscribers in literally any niche. We have calls with people such as Manish Roll, Jack Piggott, and fuck tons of other viral creators which you would have heard of before. And on top of this, every single week there is a call with myself personally where I help you with my one-on-one mentorship to strategize to grow your YouTube channel. So if that sounds like something you may be interested in, click that top link. I'll see you in the next one.